In this question, we want to graph the equation 3x minus 4y equals 4 by plotting points. We have a chart that is started with x values, and we want to fill in the ordered pairs that go with those particular x values. So in our equation, we have 3x minus 4y equals 4, and we're given an x value of -8. We want to find y. That's 3 times -8 minus 4y equals 4. -24 minus 4y equals 4. Now I want to solve for y by adding 24 to both sides. That's -4y equals 28. I can divide both sides by -4 to get y equals -7. So the ordered pair that goes with an x value of -8 is -8, -7. I'm going to do the same thing for the next x value, which is x equals -4. I'll substitute -4 in for x. That's 3 times -4 minus 4 times y equals 4. 3 times -4 is -12. And now I'll solve for y. I add 12 to both sides, giving me -4y equals 16. Divide both sides by -4, and y equals -4. So that gives the ordered pair -4, -4. The next x is x equals 0. I have 3 times 0 minus 4y equals 4. 3 times 0 is 0. And this simplifies to be -4y equals 4. I'll divide both sides by -4, and y equals -1. So that gives an ordered pair of 0, -1. Finally, if x is equal to 4, then I have 3 times 4 minus 4y equals 4. 12 minus 4y equals 4. Subtract 12 on both sides to give -4y equals -8. I'll divide both sides by -4, and y equals +2. So an x of 4 gives an ordered pair of 4, 2. Then I'll graph this equation by plotting the points. I have the points on the left here, -8, -7, -4, -4, 0, -1, and 4, 2. This creates a straight line, and I'll connect these points with the straight line. So we have the graph of 3x minus 4y equals 4 by plotting points. For this question, we want to find the center, radius, and intercepts of the circle given below and sketch the graph of the circle. Our circle has the equation x minus 1 squared plus y plus 8 squared equals 4. We know this is the equation of a circle because it's in the proper form. In the form of a circle, the standard form of a circle is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. And this matches that format. We have x minus 1 squared plus y plus 8 squared equals 4. Now the h and the k that are in the standard form stand for the center of the circle. the center, is HK, and for our example, we'll use 1 for the H. You can see that the H is the value after the minus sign. So we have an x-coordinate of 1. However, on the y-coordinate, we don't have a minus, we have a plus. But every addition can be written as subtraction, and you do that by adding the opposite. So y plus 8 is the same thing as y minus a negative 8. So that number after the minus sign is a negative 8, and that is the y-coordinate of our center, or k. Then you can also see that on the other side of the equation, we have r squared. R stands for the radius. On the other side of our equation, we have a 4. So we know that those two match. The radius squared will equal 4. I can square root both sides to get r equals 2. Really plus or minus 2. But since the radius is a distance, we'll only use the positive value. So we get, for our example, that the radius is 2. So we found the center, we found the radius, and now let's find the intercepts of our circle. To find an x-intercept, we let y equal 0. This gives x minus 1 squared plus 0 plus 8 squared equals 4. X minus 1 squared equals 0 plus 8 squared. 0 plus 8, 0 plus 8 is 8, and 8 squared is 64. I can solve this equation by isolating the square. I would subtract 64 on both sides, and that gives me x minus 1 squared equals negative 60. As I continue to solve this equation, I can see that I'm going to get imaginary solutions. If I were to square root both sides to get rid of the square, I have the square root of a negative, which will produce an imaginary solution. So I know that that indicates that there are no x-intercepts for this circle. So let's move on to finding the y-intercepts. To find a y-intercept, you let x equal 0. I'll substitute 0 in for x in the equation of the circle. That's 0 minus 1 squared plus y plus 8 squared equals 4. 0 minus 1 is negative 1. Negative 1 squared is positive 1. I'll solve this equation by isolating the square. I'll subtract 1 on both sides. That gives y plus 8 squared equals 3. I'll square root both sides. The square root and the square cancel each other out, giving you y plus 8. You gain a plus or minus sign on the other side. You gain that plus or minus anytime you square root a square. And then I'll subtract 8 on both sides, giving me y equals negative 8 plus or minus square root of 3. So this circle would have two y-intercepts, one at 0, negative 8 plus square root of 3, and the other being at 0, negative 8 minus square root of 3. So the final thing we want to do with this example is to graph our circle. To graph our circle, I'm going to plot the center. We found the center to be at 1, -8. So here's the center of the circle. And then we're going to use the value of the radius. The radius is 2 for this example. So we'll, from the center, move up 2. That's a distance of 2. 2 to the left, that's a distance of 2. 2 down, a distance of 2. And 2 to the right, a distance of 2. I'm reminding you that the radius represents the distance from the center to every point on the circle. So by traveling a distance of 2 away from the circle, you're arriving at points on the circle. We're going to connect those points to create the circle. And there we have the graph of the circle. I just want you to notice that this confirms what we found algebraically. We found algebraically that there were no x-intercepts, and you can see that on the x-axis, the graph does not cross that x-axis, confirming that we have no x-intercepts. However, you can see the graph does cross the y-axis, and we did get 2 y-intercepts. In this question, we want to find the slope of the line containing the pair of points 5, -5, and 10, 1. The formula for calculating slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. This is the change in y. That symbol that I wrote there, it looks like a little triangle. It's a Greek letter delta for change over the change in x. I'm going to label one of these points as x1, y1, and the other point as x2, y2. And we'll calculate the slope using the formula. y2 is 1 minus y1 is -5 over x2, which is 10, minus x1, which is 5. This is 1 plus 5, minus a negative is plus. 10 minus 5 is 5. So we have 6/5 as the slope of the line, containing the points 5, -5, and 10, 1. In this question, we want to write the equation for the graph shown on the right. Here we have a straight line, and we can see that it is a horizontal line. If you know that a horizontal line has the equation y equals b, where b is any y value on any point, or you could think that b is the y-intercept, then you can find the equation of the line by just recognizing the y value to be -2. This would be y equals -2. That would be the equation for this graph. You could also go through the process of finding the equation this way. Every linear equation has this formula of y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. This is called point slope form. You could find the slope of the line by picking 2 points on the line. So let's say we pick this point and this point. That is the ordered pair 4, -2, and the ordered pair 2, -2. You could calculate the slope by letting one point be x1, y1, and the other one be x2, y2. That would give you -2 minus -2 over 4 minus 2. -2 minus -2 is -2 plus 2 over 2. -2 plus 2 is 0. So you can see that this line has a slope of 0. And then you can use one of the points, x1, y1, to create the equation. So I'll use this point here. That's y minus negative 2 equals a slope of 0 times x minus 2. Y minus a negative 2 is y plus 2. 0 times x minus 2 is 0. And then I'll subtract 2 on both sides to get y equals negative 2. So we get the equation of the line that way. So if you've memorized what horizontal lines equations look like, you can do it that way. If not, you can go through the process of calculating the slope and substituting the slope and a point into point slope form to get our equation of y equals negative 2. In this question, I want to find the point slope form of the line with the given slope which passes through the indicated point. A point slope form of a line is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. M is the slope of 2/3, and x1, y1 is a point on the line. So I'll substitute those values in. Y minus negative 3, that's the y coordinate of the point, minus 2/3 times x minus 2. 2 is the x coordinate of the point. And I'll simplify just a little bit by simplifying these two negatives. That becomes y plus 3 equals 2/3 times x minus 2. And I'll stop here since this question is asking for the point slope form, and this represents the point slope form of the line with the slope of 2/3 passing through the point to negative 3. Thank you for checking out my videos. Have a great day.